Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW
All
West
of this
Texas.
goes back towards Permian Basin animal advocates, and it just helps us to continue being able to support the community and rescue animals from the shelter and then from those in need as well.
Tomorrow, Black Cat Tattoo Company is hosting an event that could leave you walking away with some new ink and a new furry friend. We'll tell you more in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us for CBS 7 News on the CW, and thanks to those of you joining us live from the CBS 7 YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and we start tonight tracking crime. A man who was charged with the death of his grandmother was indicted by a Howard County grand jury. According to our news partners at KBS Media, 27-year-old Colton Hughes was arrested in February for the murder of his grandmother, 67-year-old Leah Hughes, who was found dead at her residence in the 1800 block of Brent Drive on December 27, 2023. According to the Big Spring Police Department, the medical examiner determined her death was a result of a gunshot wound. And still tracking crime, the Midland Police Department arrested 3 people suspected of stealing fuel in Ward, Howard, Midland, and Ector counties. According to officials, the suspects were seen stealing from a Midland convenience store shortly after the car was found, and all 3 people were arrested. Police report that they found a significant amount of fuel in one of the suspects' cars, but they did not release the exact amount. This is a developing story, so stick with CBS 7 on air and online as we learn more. And you'll remember yesterday, we told you that U.S. Congressman Tony Gonzalez met with FBI Director Christopher Wray regarding the surge in oil field-related crime. Wray's response of the FBI having a task force wasn't enough for the West Texas congressman, who's now pushing for more.
West Texas isn't the place to come and steal oil.
The thieves go for major companies as well as mom and pop oil companies and steal anywhere from 50 to 100 barrels at a time. But they're not just stealing oil.
Getting a lot of copper wire thefts, pipes that's just been laying on the ground. They're picking those and stealing that. Diesel from a pulling unit. Anything that's not bolted down. It seems like they're just rampant, just stealing everything right now.
After talking with local sheriff's rep, Gonzalez says that this has become a big problem in the Permian Basin. But how do you tell if someone committed the crime?
How do you combat against a truck that pulls up to a storage tank and fills up? That's a very common occurrence in the Permian. How do you determine who's making a legal transaction and who's making an illegal transaction?
Gonzalez's next plan of action is to host a roundtable with Midland, San Angelo, El Paso, and more cities' FBI offices to talk about the specific actions that will need to be put into effect in order to combat the issue. All new here at 9, throughout the month of April, CBS 7 has been covering stories about West Texans recognizing and celebrating Autism Awareness Month. And today is no different. CBS 7's Tyler Poglich spoke to the Midland County Northeast Volunteer Fire Department to see how they're recognizing autism awareness.
Across the United States, over 5 million people have a form of autism. To recognize those individuals, the Midland County Northeast Volunteer Fire Department put the Autism Awareness logo on their helmets.
The puzzle pieces are a representation of, not everything will fit into place. Not everything's perfectly fitted, but when you find the right position, it'll fit.
Since the start of the month, the Midland County Northeast Volunteer Fire Department has had a new look, and that look is recognizing Autism Awareness Month.
Our team felt like it was something that would allow us to give a voice to those who have a hard time speaking or have a hard time finding a way to express how they feel.
At the Midland County Northeast Volunteer Fire Department, autism awareness means a lot for some of the staff, and that's because some of the staff have children with autism.
My son, since he was born, he's had problems with autism. He does speech therapy, and it's just been hard for him.
Being a dad to a kid with autism it's been hard. It's been a challenge.
For Wolf and Moreno, the skills they've learned living with someone who has autism doesn't just stop at home. It also carries into work. One of the volunteer firefighters at the Northeast Midland County Fire Department has autism. The entire crew has seen it as a blessing to have someone with autism on their crew.
I get to watch my little boy follow Ethan because they are two peas in a pod. They go everywhere together. We've got an 8-month-old as well that Ethan just adores. So, you know, like outside of the fire department, Ethan he's a good guy. He's a smart man.
It's amazing. Every time I'm on the scene with Ethan, he tells me what to do, and he's real knowledgeable. I mean, that I always call him if I don't know anything. He answers his phone, even if it's 12 o'clock. He's just been an all-time mentor to me.
The Northeast Midland County Volunteer Fire Department hopes to be able to recognize different causes each month on their helmets in the future. Reporting for CBS7 First Alert News, I'm Tyler Poglich.
Thank you, Tyler. We're going to take a pause now and talk your weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Tom Teverteller. Tom, what can we expect over the weekend?
Well, we are going to see a little more breeze in our forecast, maybe not to the levels that we saw today because it was downright gusty out there with gusts close to 40 miles an hour out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport. We have seen those temperatures again warm up a little bit more into the lower to mid 80s, all the way up to 89 in Pecos this afternoon. Well, taking a look at current conditions, we are seeing that temperatures are trying to cool off. Actually, a pleasant evening out there with some breaks in the clouds right now. Temperatures into the lower 70s, and the wind is trying to calm down a little bit. Still out of the southwest, sustained up to 15 to maybe 20 miles an hour at times. But overall, though, expecting quieter conditions in our forecast overnight tonight as we drop down into the lower to mid 50s out there. Warmer weather, in fact, downright hot weather on the way for the weekend, and we'll talk more about that. Talk about the wind, too, coming up here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Tom. The Art Council of Midland is requesting $400,000 from the Midland Development Corporation in order to renovate the second oldest home in Midland and make it a community attraction. The historic Scarborough Library complex was first built in the 1930s. The funds requested would go towards Step 2 of a 5-phase renovation project. Step 2 is remodeling the building exteriors and adding new siding.
This is where we will operate our business and do our exhibitions and classes and workshops and things like that. So there's a lot of age there, and we need to be able to shore up the outsides of the buildings.
Renovations should be completed by 2026. And the city of Fort Davis is opening up a new Old Sheriff's Museum and Research Center inside their recently refurbished jail. A 2-year work in progress, the center is a place to research the history of law enforcement in the area. It's also meant to document the West Texas sheriffs in the Brewster, Jeff Davis, and Presidio counties, with exhibits on almost all of them.
The sheriffs that we're honoring go back to the 1860s all the way to current day. So the specific mission is to preserve and honor those folks.
The Old Sheriff's Museum and Research Center is having a soft opening tomorrow, but the official opening date is the 4th of July. And it's time again for the annual Wild Wild West Fest in Andrews. The event will feature free admission to concerts, a carnival, a car show, vendors, and so much more. You'll also be able to enjoy some good old West Texas barbecue. One thing for certain is that there is plenty to do for the entire family.
Just all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, you will be entertained from the time that you get there until the time you go home. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's take a look at some of those details for Wild Wild West Fest. The event kicks off 1 week from today on Friday, April 19th. It goes from 5 p.m. to midnight. Then again on Saturday from noon until midnight. And lastly on Sunday the 21st from noon until 5 p.m. All of this information can be found on our website, CBS7.com. And if you're looking for some new ink or a new dog, or maybe you're looking for both, head to Black Cat Tattoo Company this Saturday. Proceeds from every tattoo will go towards Permian Basin animal advocates. You can choose to get a custom print of your pet or pick from a set of flash designs. The event will also have food trucks and furry friends up for adoption.
A lot of animal lovers love tattoos, and they're so dedicated to their furry friend that they do want to get something to have something for them, just like parents get tattoos for their kids. And, a lot of animal lovers just as well, we all love our animals just as much as we love our kids.
These tattoos will range from $60 to $100, and the event is from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And still ahead, with less than 1 week until the tax deadline, it's important to make sure that you're not getting scammed. Up next, how to make sure your money is safe. We're in the home stretch of tax season. The April 15th federal tax filing deadline is less than 1 week away. But those looking for last-minute tax tips on social media may not always get the best advice. According to the IRS, Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at some of the red flags.
From budgeting to student loan payments, the hashtag FinTalk has exploded on TikTok.
It really just shows how many people are looking for that personal finance advice, how to save their paycheck, how to spend their paycheck, and especially during this time of year, how to file taxes.
Brad Messner of the National Association of Tax Professionals and a professor at the University of Pittsburgh says social media can give voice to some helpful sources for tax topics, but not all have the same credibility and expertise.
In a lot of cases, there's a lot of intricacies and nuances. So there is no way in a 15-second, or even in some cases, a 30-second or 3-minute clip to explain all of the details around the topic.
The IRS said this week bad information on social media, including schemes like misusing W-2 forms to scam a bigger refund, can lead a taxpayer to big trouble. Nick Molney, managing editor at CNET, says users should always do their own research.
The fact check that you always want to put into place, make sure that you know the basics and that you're not just following someone's potential get-rich-quick messaging that may or may not even be true.
After all, Messner says it's the individual filer who's held accountable for that tax return.
When you submit that return or when you sign that return, you are ultimately responsible for it. And if anything comes into question, just the response of, oh, well, I saw that on TikTok is not really a valid response in the terms of an audit.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
With tax filing season in full bloom, the IRS is out with the latest Dirty Dozen list of the most common tax scams. Phishing and smishing are at the very top. That's when scammers will email or text you trying to get sensitive information. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger went over how to avoid scams, reminding viewers, among other things, that the IRS will never threaten legal action, promise a refund, or send an email or text demanding immediate payment. She says scammers are preying on fear and greed.
Fear, we're freezing your account. Greed, you've got a tax refund. You get something like that, especially if it's time sensitive, then you just run the other way.
If you need to file an extension, you can go to irs.gov and fill out the appropriate form. If you owe the IRS but can't pay by the 15th, the IRS says you can set up an installment plan on the website.
Well, a quiet evening out there across West Texas and southeast New Mexico as the wind's trying to calm down. That wind's going to be back. We'll talk more about that coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, a pretty quiet weather pattern out there across the area. Let's take a look at those winds. That's been the big story today. Again, gusts close to 40 miles an hour a little bit earlier today with some heightened fire danger concerns. The fire danger concerns have calming down as the winds, you can see, sustained below 20 miles an hour across the Permian Basin. Still up a little bit there here across the Trans-Pecos into parts of the western Permian Basin, and still seeing some gusts up to 33 out towards the Wink area. But fortunately, this is going to calm down a little bit overnight tonight and maybe not quite as blustery coming up for the weekend. Well, there's going to be some wind. It's West Texas, as you know. So we're going to see some of that in our forecast. Just keep that in mind with those outdoor plans. As we're kind of in between systems right now, we have this ridge of high pressure. You can really see it being made out by the wind contours here, moving right across the plains, and that is bringing in some mid to high level cloudiness across the area. We got kind of a little bit of a break this evening, but it's going to be back, and then we're going to see the influence of this trough low pressure out across the western U.S. That system is going to spin inland into western California. Coming up this weekend in the western U.S. is what I'm trying to say, and that's going to be the next wind maker for us across the area. Rest of the forecast for tonight, though, just some mid to high level clouds on the way, and those are overspreading most of the state as temperatures today, again, warmed up quite a bit across many areas all the way up into the low 90s, again around Del Rio down towards Laredo. Futurecast winds, a little bit of a break overnight tonight and for tomorrow, but still sustained winds around 20 to 25 miles an hour, gust up to 30 miles an hour. And it looks like about the same thing coming up for Sunday, as it's going to be a southeasterly wind in our forecast. So that's going to warm temperatures up quite a bit. In fact, we'll be running close to 10 degrees plus above where we should be this time of the year and into the 90s. Not as mild overnight tonight with a little bit of breeze in our forecast. Around 90 tomorrow afternoon with a mix of clouds and sun across the area. No real big changes till the early part of next week with that next cold front A lot of wind in the forecast. May see an isolated thunderstorm across parts of the eastern Permian Basin before things cool off a little bit on Tuesday, but overall looks like some breeze hanging around into next week.
College athletes can now earn money from more than just their sport. We'll tell you what we mean next. This year's NCAA tournament saw record TV ratings. The women's title game averaged 18.7 million viewers. Massive viewership numbers aren't just good for the sports, but are also good for raising the profiles of players who can now earn money off of their name, image, and likeness. Michael Yoshida takes a look at how money off the court is continuing to change the landscape of college sports.
Hi, it's Caitlin. I'm so excited to be partnering with H&R Block to launch
college athletes.
When the odds get beaten, the chicken fingers get eaten, baby.
Capitalizing on endorsement deals.
My name is Olivia Miles. I'm dropping my t-shirt. It's become a really big part of the game. There's a lot more added pressures, I'd say, to get your business going, to get an agent, to build your brand.
They're also cashing in on their name, image, and likeness from NIL collectives, operating independent of schools. These pool funds from boosters and other sources.
It's basically like negotiating with a general manager in the NFL or NBA, but at the college level. And obviously, the higher the prospect, the more the money.
College football is the biggest NIL sport. Every school in the Southeastern Conference, or SEC, has at least one NIL collective.
It's helpful for me to make my name pop out and come out more.
Opportunities continue to expand. New company Nilly pays student athletes up front for their NIL rights and pairs them with a financial advisor.
If a kid is able to learn about money, to invest properly, that goes a long way.
And allows fans to invest in the athletes.
We believe that this is a really good deal for all parties.
Nilly earns revenue from the athletes' NIL rights and shares it with investors and the athletes, who receive a majority of the profit.
We didn't have this 21 years ago when I came out of high school and had to go to the pros because of my financial situation. It's time for the athletes to be able to control their own destiny.
I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Still ahead, fashion and flavor. We talk about a one-of-a-kind shoe next on CBS7 News at 9. All right, Tom, do you like to snack on the go?
Well, just take a look at me some days and that'll answer that question.
Well, then this might be for you. These are Pringles themed Crocs boots, and they're complete with a side holster to hold your stackable chips. They are limited edition.
Of course.
And it's a Pringles Crocs collaboration. They're available for purchase online starting Tuesday, April 16th.
And they're already sold out.
I'm sure they are.
Okay, I'm sure that's done.
They also include other classic Crocs in Pringles themed colors with a mustache on the strap, like the Pringles man has his mustache. And they also have other Pringles themed gibbets charms. That's what
Is that what those little things
That's what
are?
they're called.
Gibbets.
Gibbets.
I've often wondered that because the grandkids are covered in them, and I'm like, what's going on here? What did I miss?
Yeah, they're called gibbets, and you can buy all kinds of different ones, and you put them in the hole of your Croc.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna be the old grouchy guy in the room. Have you seen the price of Pringles lately?
No.
Oh my.
Are they just shot up?
They used to be. You used to be able to get a can of them for 99 cents, and this is going to date me. But when I say these things, I'm talking about like 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, I'm not talking about
no, it wasn't that long ago.
1970. Okay, when I say this, but anyway, just.
I like to. What's your favorite Pringles flavor?
Oh, I always liked the sour cream and onion ones. I always thought those were good.
I like the cheddar. I think those might be my favorite.
And sometimes, there's other companies that make knockoffs of them.
Oh yeah, there's all the knockoff Pringles. They're not the same.
They're not as good.
No, it's that potato flour that
it's those little ones, those little packages of them you can get. Those are neat too.
Oh, they are. They're really cool. I don't think I would buy these, but I think they're kind of cool.
Well, like I say, you'll never get a chance at them.
No,
because all
they're
this stuff
definitely
we show
sold out by
sells
now.
out immediately, so that's never an issue.
No, I think they're great though. Thanks for watching CBS7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up tonight at 10.